My name is Carlos Pena. I'm a student here at Jones Technical Institute. Today we're going to be going over a pre-trip forklift inspection. First thing that I want to touch on is the operating manual. All of these equipment all come with an operating manual. It's pretty important to be reviewing this to know the limits of the machine, get familiar with the controls on the machine. Very important manual to have and to use. Okay, the very first thing that we're going to be doing is going to be a visual inspection, and then we're going to be doing an operational inspection. So our visual inspection will usually start from the side where the driver is going to be entering. So we're going to start right here. This is our operator area manual. It goes right back in there. We have our brake pedal, our few control sticks, our steering, and our driving controls here. What we're going to be looking for is we're going to be checking out the floor, making sure that there's no grease on it or oil on there. We don't want a slippery surface. We want our operator to be stable while he's operating the equipment. Okay. And then we're going to come around. We're going to take a look at our tires down here. These are solid tires. So what we're going to be looking for is chunks missing out of the rubber around it, or deep gouges, or if just any other general wear. These have a little bit of cracks in the tires. We would go ahead and make a note of that in our inspection, and we would just carry on as we're moving on. The next thing we've got here is we've got our battery unit. It's sitting in its tray. We're not going to be pulling it out unless there was an actual issue with the battery, because it weighs quite a bit. But what we're going to be checking off of this is we're going to be checking and inspecting our cables, making sure that there's no rips on them, making sure that that it's firmly connected into our unit there. And then we're going to continue right along. We've got the mast here, and we have the forks in front of us. The same thing, we're going to be checking out these tires down here. We're going to be looking for, see this kind of a big gouge in this, and that affects its stability of the machine. We would have to go ahead and replace those. And then we're going to move on over here to the front side. We're going to be looking at our pistons to make sure that they're not leaking any fluids. We're going to make sure everything's tight in here. The cotter pins are in its place. Nothing's just flopping around. We're going to check our chains here, make sure that none of them are broken. Just do a quick visual check on our hydraulic hoses as well, making sure no rips in them or leaks in them. We have our fork pins here. We're going to make sure that they are attached with their lanyard. They're in place. We'll use them as we need them to reposition the forks. And then we'd come around here over to the other side. Same thing. We're going to check our other tires over here. We're going to check, I forgot to mention, we're going to check our forklifts, or our actual forks, I'm sorry. And we're going to be inspecting for cracks along here or any wear down of the fork itself. If you wear down this elbow and it's scraping on the ground for too long, you actually lose a lot of your lifting support and power. So it's important to check the forks as well. And now we're coming around on the other side. We've got our other battery. We're just going to make sure that it's secured and in place. It's bolted in place right there on the tray. That's kind of good to go. While we're here, we can see the other hydraulic hose. We're going to inspect it to make sure that it's not leaking from the connections up there, the connections back in there. They all look tight and sound. We're going to be checking our little shielding here, making sure that that's firmly secured in place and it's not broken or ripped or corroded. We have our overhead coverage as well. We would inspect that, make sure that the welds aren't broken on it, make sure it's not bent. We've got also our securing frame all around, making sure the integrity of it. We don't want this to fail in case there's an accident, something falling on the operator. We wouldn't want him to be crushed. So once we complete our walk around, we make our notes on whatever we need on the inspection so far, or discrepancies. And then we would turn that into the service manager if it's a detrimental issue. If it's not a detrimental issue, we note it, we put in the work order, and it gets taken care of when it gets taken care of. Another thing that I didn't touch on here is we've got our little sight glass, and that's our hydraulic fluid level. And ideally it should be about center on that. You can tell that this level is a little bit low, and we actually have right behind this, take our Allen screws, we've already removed our out of here, and just give this a little shaky shake, and it comes on out. Okay, and then here you have your actual hydraulic tank. You can see that the fluid level is probably about right here-ish. This is all fluid, that's just empty space. And it's a little bit below the sight glass, but it is not low to a point where we cannot fully extend this. This machine here has a height of about 17.5 feet. We use it inside a little warehouse with the max ceiling being about 10 feet. We only use it to maybe 8. So it's not low enough to a point where we would run out of fluid and we would not be able to fully extend to do what we need to. This is your breather cap. It's also your fill cap. If you have this filled up too high on the fluid, you'll start noticing some leaking coming out of this. You're going to check your connection right here at the hose as well. Make sure that that's not leaking. This is pretty dirty, so we're actually going to take some rags and clean this up before we put the cover back on there. But that's all the first part of it. It's just the visual inspection. We're making sure everything's good to go. Next, we're going to be hopping into the driver's seat, and we're going to be going through the different controls on the forks and making sure that they operate as they should. All right, so here's part 2 of our pre-forklift inspection. The first thing that I would like to touch on over here is our battery. We have a gauge here for our battery gauge and an engine hours gauge. Okay, when we turn it on, we're going to check our battery level. That was part of our visual. I didn't touch on that, but only because it's so natural. Okay, so next I'm going to be going through the different controls. This one control is a 3-part switch. It controls our forks left and right, in and out, and tilts forward and down. This other control here raises and lowers our mast. Okay, so we're going to turn our key on. We're going to press our brake pedal to actually activate the machine. We're going to bring it up a little bit. Bring it up a little bit so we can start moving these controls. All right, so our first one is going to be to move left all the way to the right. Make sure we hit our stops as they should be. We're going to recenter our forks. And then the next one that we've got is our thrust in and out. So we're going to thrust all the way out. Make sure we hit our limit switches there. Boom. Beautiful. And then we're going to bring it back in. Boom. Okay. And next thing we're going to be testing is our tilt up and our tilt down. Okay, we've got pretty smooth operation in all of those. Our next thing is going to be for us to raise this mast as high up as we can get it, and then we're going to time how long it takes for the mast to collapse back down. Okay, so while we're doing this, we're going to be taking notes, making sure that we're watching our light up there. About as high as I'm going to be taking it. Make sure we don't hit our light. We've got proper overhead clearance, and we're just going to time this on the way down. Okay, so that was about 9 seconds, which is right on where it should be. If you've got significantly longer than that, we're talking like 11, 12, 13 seconds. That means that you've got an issue in your hydraulic line, maybe some air in there, or maybe the hydraulic fluid itself is too low, and that's what's causing it to slow down on the descent. Okay, so now that we've checked out our forklifts, we've raised and lowered and operated them every which way. Our final thing is going to be our steering and our back and forth movement. Okay, so to get that going, we're gonna. Another thing that we got to check is our horn. Horn working. Okay, so we're actually gonna kick this machine on, and we're gonna look at our wheels as we're turning this to make sure that we are in fact handling as we should. Okay. So now we've got our wheels there. We're just gonna raise our fork a little bit up. About 5 to 10 inches up off the ground, and then we're just going to bump this up a little bit. Hopefully we can get going. or we cannot get going. There we go. Hey. Okay. Going back. All right, so we've got proper back and forth movement, proper operation on our forks, moving them left and right, tilting in and out, thrusting, and raising and lowering. We are through with our pre-forklift inspection. Next is to fire this puppy up for real and start doing some work.